Are you good at doing family? What does that mean? Well, join us as we talk about relationships today on Advanced Studio Classroom. Hello friends, welcome to Advanced Studio Classroom. I'm Campbell. It is great to have you here and to have you join us for our relationships article for this month. Now, before we get into our article, I want to introduce our panelists for today. Again, my name is Campbell, and to my left, I have one of our seasoned panelists here. How are you doing, Albert?
Hi everyone. Hello, Campbell. It's so good to be here today.
Albert, are you good at doing family?
I hope so. I guess we will find out by the end of the program.
That's true. All right, and now we have some sisters here in the studio with us. Now, I think that's kind of appropriate since we are talking about family. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Selena Taylor, and I have a younger sister named Joy. Joy, say hi.
Hi.
Joy, how old are you?
I'm 18.
18. And Selena, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
All right. Now, some of you might have known Selena from about 5 years ago. She was on our advanced program. Now, Joy and Selena are some of our interns, and they are spending some time here with us. And they will be learning and sharing some of their own knowledge with us. So it's great to have you guys. We're thankful for having you guys here. Now, again, today we are talking about the art of doing family well. And our article is on page 26 of your advanced magazine. So if you do have that magazine, please do open it up, or you can join us on your mobile device. So the title is The Art of Doing Family Well. What does that mean? What does it mean to do family well, Albert?
Well, I'm thinking when you do anything well, you're able to be really good at it. In this context, doing family well, I'm hoping that, you're able to connect with your family and able to raise a family and be able to provide a future for everyone in that family.
Right. We all have families, right? We all have mothers and fathers, and most of us have relationships with our family, and I do hope that you have good relationships with your family. So today and tomorrow, we want to talk about ways to help your child develop into a secure, confident, and giving individual. Do you feel like you are a secure, confident, and giving individual?
Sometimes I don't. I definitely have my shortcomings, but I try to be the most life-giving to my family members and encouraging to my family members. Mm-hmm. So I would say I try my best, but I'm not that great all the time.
Well, I think all of us have room to improve in all of these areas, right? I don't think I'm always the most secure or the most confident or the most giving. Sometimes I do have my selfish moments. I try to keep watch over that, and definitely these are some things that I would want for my own children. I do have 2 daughters, and I really hope for them that they grow up to be secure and confident and that they learn to be giving, right? So we are going to be studying actually 2 articles in this relationships lesson. And today we're going to be talking about a special family. Albert, can you tell us a little bit more about this family?
This family has 12 children. I cannot even count that high. 12? That's amazing.
Yes.
These 12 children, 7 of them have disabilities. Mm-hmm. But they're one big happy family in California.
That's right. So, 12 children. I have 2, and that already is... I can barely handle 2. I don't know how they handle 12. And then add on the fact that 7 of the children have disabilities. What are we talking about when we talk about disabilities?
I feel like when you talk about disabilities, it's probably when someone, not physical disabilities, but has some parts of their body missing, or like a person who's in a wheelchair, or a person who doesn't have like arms and hands and stuff.
Yeah, so they have different challenges, right? Different physical challenges, and we're going to find out about some of the disabilities that these children have. But needless to say, this is a very, very special family. So let's get into our article again. We are on page 26. Please do join us at the top of the page.
The Art of Doing Family Well. Ways to help your child develop into a secure, confident, and giving individual. 12 children, 7 disabilities, and 1 big, happy California family. Brian and Tamara Wong of Clovis, California, once had a very different plan for their life together. The accountant and behavior analyst anticipated having 2 children, and Tamara driving a convertible. But God had a different plan. They say, and it's far better. The couple has 12 children. 8 are adopted, 7 with disabilities. Tamara drives a van that can seat 15 people, and she couldn't be happier.
All right, so we start our article hearing about the parents of the family. What are their names?
Brian and Tamara Wong.
That's right, Brian and Tamara Wong of Clovis, California. And we see a picture of the whole family there at the bottom of page 26. They once had a very different plan for their life together. What was that plan, Albert?
So their plan was, 2 children, small family, hence the reason why they had a convertible car. That's something you usually have or get when you don't want to have a lot of children.
That's right. So usually convertibles are a lot smaller, right? So we hear a little bit about their jobs. One of them is an accountant and the other is a behavior analyst. What does a behavior analyst do, Selena?
Well, Campbell, a behavior analyst is a person who evaluates individuals with behavior problems. And they study the environment that this person grew up in and all these different kinds of factors that might influence them, and they study how this changes the way they act.
Right. So in a way, behavior analysts, they work with different people with maybe different challenges or personality problems and try to figure out how to help them to live a smoother life, right? So it kind of, in a way, makes them really suited to do what they're doing now with the 12 children with the 7 disabilities. And they anticipated having 2 children, as Albert said, and Tamara driving a convertible. What is a convertible?
Well, a convertible is a car with a soft roof which can be folded back.
Right. So if you think about a car that is kind of open, right? And did they end up having this type of lifestyle? Did they end up following their plan?
Well, for a little while they did, and they ended up adopting more children.
Right. They said God had a different plan, and they say it's far better. And, oftentimes I find that that's true. A lot of times I have my own plans, but God has some other plan. And when I choose to obey and submit to God's plan, I find that His plans are always better than my own because, I can't see the whole picture like He does, right? So, like we said, the couple has 12 children. How many of them are adopted?
8.
That's right. 8 are adopted and 7 have disabilities.
I think I really liked how earlier you mentioned the behavioral analyst as a profession, right? It complements well because the other spouse is an accountant.
Right.
And an accountant is usually involved with financial records, finances. So having 12 children, you definitely need to be good with money.
That's true. Very true. Yes.
And I think God definitely knew they had the ability to take care of 12 children,
Right.
especially 7 with disabilities. So, yes, God knows His plan, and
Right.
His plan is best.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's amazing that this couple, in a way they chose, right? They chose to, and we'll learn more about that later. They chose to bring these children into their families. A lot of parents, when their children are born with disabilities, it's not something they choose. They're kind of just put in that situation. But
Right.
they actually chose to open themselves up to needing to have to give these children extra care, right? Now, did Tamara end up driving a convertible?
No.
No.
What does she drive now?
A van.
That's right. She drives a van that can seat 15 people, and she couldn't be happier. That sounds amazing. All right, so how did they end up having this type of lifestyle? Let's continue our article on line 15.
Their eldest biological daughter, Brianna, 20, had a hand in the adoptions. At age 6, she asked her parents a big question as they collected items to send to an orphanage in Mexico. "Mom, we're gathering all these clothes and toys for orphans. But isn't what orphans really need just a family?" They prayed over her question, and it led them to adopt a healthy baby girl, Brooklyn, in 2004. After that, they started looking for children with needs. That led to the adoption of Blythe, 17, Bethany, 10, Braxton, 10, Bailey, 8, Bella, 7, Becca Joy, 4, and Bennett, 4. 4 are missing limbs and 2 have spina bifida, a birth defect where the spinal cord doesn't develop properly. They don't plan to adopt more children, although they thought they were done adopting after each new child they brought home. Then they'd spot another on an adoption list or in an orphanage who captured their hearts.
So how did they go from wanting 2 children to now having 12? What was that process like, Selena?
Well, it happened when they were collecting items to send to an orphanage in Mexico, and their daughter, Brianna, who was 6 at that time, said, "Mom, we're gathering all these clothes and toys for orphans, but isn't what orphans really need just a family?" Which got Tamara thinking.
That's pretty deep for a 6-year-old, right? I think that's pretty amazing for a 6-year-old to really realize that. And I think a lot of times we underestimate the power of children and what they're able to think.
Or I would like to think of it as it reflects their innocence.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like as we grow up, you know, we get conditioned to be like, oh, this is the way how the world works. You know, some things are unfair, and we try and do what we can, but sometimes it's really not enough. And, you know, this little kid right here, it's like, hey, let's get to the heart of the issue here.
That's right. So they were collecting all these clothes and toys for orphans, but then she raised a really important question, and it got Brian and Tamara thinking, right? She asked, isn't what orphans really need just a family, right? Now, it says here that Brianna is their biological daughter. What does that word biological mean?
It means related by birth. So when your father and your mother get married and then they give birth to a child, then it would be their biological children.
Right. So you are Selena's biological sister.
Yes.
Right? You guys are related by birth. You have the same mother, same father.
Yep.
Yeah. So not related by adoption or other means, right?
No.
Yes. So I have 2 biological children. That means that my wife and I had 2 children. In the future, will we adopt? We may. You know, we've talked about it. I'm not sure what God's plans are. We will decide that, you know, as we go, maybe when the children are a bit older. But, you know, I think it's amazing what Brian and Tamara have done. Now, after Brianna at the age of 6 asked them this question, what did they do, Albert?
They prayed over her question, and it led them to adopt a healthy baby girl.
That's right, and the baby girl's name was Brooklyn, and this was in 2004. So, they adopted a healthy baby girl, and then after that, what happened?
They kept adopting children, and the funny thing I found was they're all named the first letter of each of their names starts with a B.
That's right. So it starts with the dad, Brian Wong, right? And then we have Brianna Wong and Brooklyn Wong. And then they adopted these other children, Blythe, Bethany, Braxton, Bailey, Bella, Becca Joy, and Bennett. That is a lot of children. So they actually started looking for children with needs, right? And when we talk about needs here, we're not talking about the fact that, they needed food or clothes or even a family. The needs here is actually talking about the disabilities, right?
Yeah, and it's really refreshing and surprising at the same time because I feel like I took a few minutes to look up what a behavior analyst makes on average and what an accountant makes on average, and compared it to the average income in California, which is $52,000 a year, and they make $57,000 around there and $55,000. But here they are adopting not only more children, but children with needs. And usually children with needs have, maybe there's medication or therapy or whatnot,
Sure.
that there's these hidden added costs. And they're more than willing to do this and pay for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter has special needs. She was born premature. She's a preemie, 3 months early. And as a result of her premature birth, she had a little bit of brain damage. So we take her to therapy a lot. And we often have to take her to see doctors, and she needs different, equipment to help her in her development, and she's fine. She's growing and she's doing really well, and we're so thankful for that. But I can definitely understand the challenges of having a child with special needs. The thing that I have learned as a father of a child with special needs is that they're no different than any other child. They are actually just like every other child, they just have special needs, which I really like this term, special needs. And so we learn a little bit more about the special needs that they have. What are some of the needs that these children have?
Well, 4 of them are missing limbs, and 2 of them have this birth defect called spina bifida.
That's right. So we see a picture of the whole family there, and then at the top we see 4 of the girls. Now, when we talk about limbs, we're talking about the arms and legs. So we see a picture of how some of them are missing their legs, okay, and some of them are missing arms. And I saw a video while I was preparing for this article, and the kids are amazing. They're doing gymnastics and they're doing like backflips and tumbles, and I'm just like, you're missing an arm and a leg, but hey, like you are more athletic and physical than I am. With
I
all
can't do
4
a back.
limbs,
I can't do a backflip.
So this goes to prove what I was talking about earlier, that they may be missing arms and legs, but they're no different, and they are just as capable as the rest of us. So we talk about this birth defect, spina bifida. What is a birth defect?
It's a physical or chemical problem with a body part or a process which is present at birth.
That's right. Now, we don't know why people are born with these birth defects. There are a lot of different reasons they may happen, but the fact is they do happen. And this particular birth defect, spina bifida, causes the spinal cord to not develop properly. And we know that the spinal cord is very important. That's how we stand up straight. Also, that's where the information gets passed from our brain to other parts of our body. So when the spinal cord isn't developed properly, there can be some challenges, but they're facing them well. Now, do they plan on adopting more children?
Well, they don't plan on adopting any children, but we don't know that because they said that every time they adopted another child, so I guess we'll see.
That's right. So after each child they adopted, they thought, we're done. But then they'd spot another one on an adoption list or an orphanage that captured their hearts, which just means that they just fell in love with this child and they thought, okay, we have to help them. We have to bring them home. Now, the thing is, though, a lot of times we think, wow, Brian and Tamara, they're the heroes here. They're the ones that are helping these children. But they actually feel differently. So let's continue our article and finish up our article for today. Please join us on the right-hand column on line 7.
The real winners. We think we are saving these kids and we're helping them out. But really, they truly blessed us, Brian says. We're able to learn many things through them. Bryce, 16, one of the Wong's biological children, loves his big family. The Bible says we should love the orphans of the world, and I feel like we are pretty much doing that, Bryce says. He's proud of his parents. I think they are definitely following God's word, taking action. Not just listening, but doing.
So we hear from Brian, who is the father, and he says, we think we are saving these kids and we're helping them out. But really, they truly blessed us. What do you think about that, Albert?
Well, I think it's one of life's mysteries and joys. Like there's things that you go into anticipating one thing and the opposite comes true. And in this case, their children are teaching them how it is, how life is, and the little happiness that you can glean from it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's one thing about the beauty of helping others and serving is that in turn you will be blessed yourself as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that doesn't just apply to Brian and Tamara. I've been on many mission trips where I have felt blessed while I was blessing others.
Right. Yeah, I think this is so true in many cases. A lot of times we think that we're going in to help people and we're going in to save these people's lives and to make their lives better. But then what we find is that as we're helping them, these people are blessing us back in return. And we actually end up gaining a lot more from the experience than the people that we're actually helping.
Right, and this really, resonates with everything that I've been reading as of recent. There's self-help books and, articles published online that are trending where people say, hey, the key to happiness is not focusing on yourself, not buying, items, but, giving. Generosity goes a long way, and it comes back to you in ways you cannot imagine.
That's right. As a father, I've definitely grown a lot, and I've definitely gotten so much more from my children than I feel like I've given to them. And I really feel like it's a privilege and to be able to raise these two beautiful girls. And it's a challenge, definitely. And I pray, my wife and I pray every day to know exactly how to raise them and how to teach them. It's not always easy. Now, we do hear from Bryce, who is 16, and he is one of the Wong's biological children, so he's not one of the ones that was adopted. How does he feel about his big family?
He feels that he loves his family, and the Bible also teaches him that we should love all the orphans of the world, and he feels that he's doing pretty much that.
Yeah. He feels that they are doing their part to love the orphans, right? Not just to give them clothes and just give them things. Those things are important, but they're actually taking them into their homes and they're loving them and they're incorporating them into their family. How does he feel about his parents, though, Selena?
Well, he's very proud of his parents, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. Both him and Brianna, their biological children, they're just as inspiring as their parents, I think, because they love their adopted brothers and sisters, and I think they really are doing family well.
That's right. So I think the fact that the children are proud and that they love their parents speaks a lot about their relationship and speaks a lot about this family. I can only imagine, and I definitely believe that Brian and Tamara probably invest a lot of time and a lot of care into these children so that they know that they're loved and that they're cared for. And I think as parents, that's one of the most important things to realize is that our children need our time more than anything. More than money, more than physical things more than, material things. I think the most they need is our time and our love, and they need our attention. I know as a father, a lot of times, especially now with modern technology, I'll be sitting in the same room with my daughter, but, maybe someone is messaging me on my phone and I have to respond really quick. And my oldest is getting to the age where, she'll actually get annoyed and she'll get mad because, dad's on the cell phone and I want to play with you, and she doesn't do anything, and she'll sit there and she'll play and she'll wait patiently. But then later on, like, I'll talk to her and I'll sense something's wrong, and I'm like, "Are you mad?" And she's like, "Yes." And I said, "Why?" And I'm like, "Is it because Daddy was on the cell phone?" "Yes." So, I'm learning that I need to learn how to set time aside for my children.
I want to apologize ahead of time. It was probably me messaging Campbell, distracting him from father-daughter time.
Yes. So I think this is an inspirational article. I think all of us can definitely do more. And, this is a challenge. What can we do to reach out? How can we help those around us? And how can we help those that we might feel are less fortunate than us? And, a lot of times when we do, we are the ones that will end up being blessed. All right. Well, that was day 1 of our article, The Art of Doing Family Well. Please do join us tomorrow as we talk about fighting. This will be interesting. All right. So that's all for us for today. We hope that you'll join us again tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.